Good morning. Welcome to Davos in the Desert. My name is David Wanatik. I'm the CEO of Davos in the Desert. I'd like to thank you for joining us today for our Data Center Technologies Conference. We're going to start off the program by listening to an overview of what's transpiring in the data center industry. The topic of the first keynote presentation is what may the future look like for the next generation of data centers. Speaking on this issue, I'm very pleased to welcome Moises Levy, who is the Managing Director of Research and Market Intelligence at Datacenter Dynamics. Moises Levy is a seasoned engineer, data center subject matter expert, trusted advisor, and entrepreneur. He has more than 25 years of professional experience and more than 15 years dedicated mainly to data center physical infrastructure projects. He is the founder of engineering firms, leading numerous engineering projects across different verticals and providing advisory services for data center projects and new technologies. So we're very pleased to welcome Dr. Moises Levy to make the introduction presentation to us. I'll turn it over to you, Moises.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your kind words. Hello, everyone. As you may know, I'm Moises Levy, and it's an honor to be part of the Data Center Technologies Conference at Davos in the Desert. Before diving into this presentation, let's take a moment to reflect on what's possible. The 2020s have truly been a transformative decade, marked by innovation across many fields, including artificial intelligence, reshaping industries, space exploration with the rise of private companies, and advancements by agencies like NASA have brought us closer to Mars exploration. Quantum computing brings unimaginable processing power for solving complex problems. Robotics are becoming more intelligent with major application, and much more in many fields. The digital era influences every aspect of our lives and businesses, transforming the global economy into a digital economy, with data centers serving as its backbone. As digital infrastructure becomes central to our operations, the role of reliable and resilient data centers is ever more critical for secure data processing, storage, and uninterrupted access to this. Right now, we are experiencing rapid evolution in the data center industry, driven by the growing demand for compute-intensive workloads. This underscores the importance of innovation and creativity. AI is rapidly transforming many aspects of society, presenting both immense opportunities and significant challenges. As with any disruptive technology, its advancement highlights the importance of addressing critical issues, including global competitiveness and the responsible use of AI. Today, using AI effectively isn't just an option, it's an expectation. Yet mastering AI isn't always an intuitive skill. Many of you have likely encountered groundbreaking AI tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Cursor, and many more, meaning that we all are part of this incredible transformation. As we continue to learn, amplify, and expand our capabilities to use AI, we are witnessing a surge in compute-intensive workloads that is driving the production of IT equipment, especially designed for these needs. This phenomenon is reshaping the data center landscape with a growing focus on dedicated AI facilities or AI factories. Higher rack power densities are redesigning data centers, influencing not only power and cooling systems, but also the planning, construction, and operation of these facilities. To give you an idea, maximum power rack densities currently stand at approximately 120 kilowatts per rack, up from 30 kilowatts per rack only 4 years ago in 2021. Recent innovations such as NVIDIA's groundbreaking superchips introduced recently this year demonstrate their push for innovation, underscoring the dramatic rise in computational power, preparing to reach 600 kilowatts per rack by 2027, and maybe more. AI application, including training, batch inferencing, and online inferencing, continue to drive this evolution. With computing technologies evolving faster than traditional infrastructure cycles, the industry must adopt modular, flexible, and rapidly deployable data center designs. Addressing the growing demands of data centers also requires innovative approaches to power management, advanced cooling technologies, and facility architectures. In summary, the data center industry faces the challenge of adapting to ever-evolving workloads by adopting solutions that not only enhance reliability and efficiency, but also minimize environmental impact and mitigate risks associated with supply chains and operations. The AI Preparedness Index, proposed a few years ago by the International Monetary Fund, evaluates the readiness of 174 countries to adopt AI technologies. It considers key factors such as digital infrastructure, human capital, innovation, and regulatory frameworks. Countries are scored on a scale from 0 to 1, with higher scores reflecting greater preparedness. Wealthier nations tend to score higher due to their robust digital infrastructure, advanced innovation ecosystem, and strong regulatory frameworks. Of course, these countries are better positioned to adopt AI. The index serves as a valuable tool for policymakers, helping them to pinpoint areas for improvement and promote equitable AI adoption. So, what does the future hold? Here we can see three pictures. Let's focus on workloads and where they will be processed. We need to visualize distributed computing architectures designed to handle diverse demands efficiently and at a scale, with the ultimate goal of serving everyone in every corner. That's the main goal. Today, we rely on an extensive global network of data centers to drive daily operation, maintain business resilience, and spark innovation. Investment in data centers are surging across real estate, IT infrastructure, and solutions. It is expected that it will exceed $1 trillion in the coming years, highlighting the important role of data centers in our increasingly connected world. Future data centers are expected to be marvels of efficiency, sustainability, and innovation. As technology continues to evolve, new latency-sensitive applications are demanding a redistribution of compute resources closer to the users, pushing them to the edge. And you can see that's the first picture. Leading hyperscalers are planning to roll out fleets of edge data centers. Nowadays, a data center, we can define it between 5, 10, or 20 megawatts. They will ensure faster processing and responsiveness of this demanding application. At the same time, the picture in the middle, they are also investing in cutting-edge mega campuses for data centers. These mega facilities that are being built worldwide to support today's substantial data processing needs. Additionally, there are other companies more focused, like OpenAI. They are scaling investment in the AI landscape to unprecedented levels. For example, the Stargate project with a massive 500 billion investment planned over 4 years. And they are just focused on building advanced AI infrastructure. They seek to create a state-of-the-art AI data centers or AI factories powering its Gen AI compute portfolio. As we can see, there is no one size fits all. We will have a mix. To gain some perspective, energy has consistently been and continues to be a key pillar of our progress. In 2023, the global primary energy supply was approximately 172,000 terawatt hours. This energy supply relied heavily, about 80%, on oil, coal, and natural gas. Electricity consumption, on the other hand, accounted for roughly 30,000 terawatts hour, highly dependent on coal, renewable natural gas, and nuclear sources, as we see in the graphs. In 2024, data centers accounted for approximately 1.5 to 2% of global electricity consumption, close to 400 terawatts hours. The United States, as we can see, led the way, consuming the largest share at 45%, followed by China at 25% and Europe 15%. Globally, data center electricity consumption has grown at an annual rate of around 12% since 2017, more than 4 times faster than the overall growth of total electricity consumption. So we see that data centers are growing faster. Looking to the future, electricity demand for data center is set to more than double, reaching approximately 1,000 terawatt hours by 2030. I personally expect that we will exceed this number. Of course, AI remains the main driver of this growth, alongside increasing demand for other digital services. AI factories consume as much electricity as power-intensive factories, but their footprint is far more geographically concentrated. The United States is expected to lead this growth, accounting for the majority of the global increase, followed closely by China. The rising energy consumption of data center is a growing concern that will impact both national and regional levels. Data centers will have a substantial impact on local power grids. Addressing this challenge requires innovative strategies and collaborative efforts to manage energy efficiently. Today, we stand on the brink of exciting transformation in data center physical infrastructure. 5 key trends are driving this evolution. First, as technology like AI, Gen AI, and machine learning become more prevalent, data centers must adapt to support compute-intensive workloads that demand immense processing power. Second, decentralized power strategies are gaining traction. Nowadays, we can see data centers as prosumers and not only as consumers of energy, reducing the dependence on utilities. The third trend is the adoption of liquid cooling, which addresses the growing need for efficient heat transfer in high power density IT equipment. Fourth, automation and AI are transforming operation by optimizing resources, streamlining workflows, and enabling predictive and prescriptive analytics. And finally, efficiency and sustainability are reshaping our sector, with energy efficient designs paving the way toward environmentally friendly data centers. We will touch all this in detail shortly. Let me share that these trends are not just reshaping infrastructure, they are setting the foundation for the future of technology and innovation. Furthermore, the implementation of new technology in data centers requires a reliable, well-orchestrated strategy to maximize business value and support long-term growth. Let's start with the first one. And for this one, I would like to start by discussing Jevons paradox that is well known. This paradox challenged the assumption that better efficiency always leads to reduced resource usage. Fast forward to modern times. We see a similar pattern in data centers and workloads. In the 1990s, the introduction of standard high-volume servers drove a steady growth in the market through the early 2000s. With the advent of virtualization, physical resource utilization was revolutionized by consolidating multiple virtual machines to run on a single physical server. At the time, many speculated that this innovation of virtualization and consolidation would stabilize or even shrink the server market. And for a while, it did. With improved efficiency, fewer servers were needed, leading to reduced resource consumption. However, Jevons paradox once again proved itself. The efficiency gains reduced costs, which in turn drove increasing demand. The result, a boom in the server market, showcasing how advancement intended to conserve resources can often lead to their expanded use. Data center energy consumption is closely linked to workloads, and models like OpenAI's ChatGPT exemplify this dynamic. For example, estimating the energy consumption of AI models is complex due to factors such as model size, infrastructure, and optimization techniques. AI models have grown exponentially in size from millions to billions of parameters, as you can see in the slide. They also demand significant computational resource for training and inference or to operate them. For instance, as also we can imagine, a single chat GPT query consumes much more energy. It may consume 1 to 10 watt hours. On average, let's say 4.5 watt hours. In other words, 15 times more the energy of a typical Google search. Despite these challenges, the industry is innovating to improve AI efficiency as these workloads become more prevalent. Similarly, we can now apply Jevons paradox again to AI workloads, particularly in the rise of AI. As you can see in the graph, AI is becoming more efficient, affordable, and accessible. Between 2022 and 2024, just in 18 months, inference costs for GPT 3.5 level systems fell about 280-fold, while hardware costs dropped about 30% annually, and energy efficiency improved by about 40% per year. These developments significantly lower barriers to advanced AI adoption. So again, Jevons paradox proved itself. Dedicated AI data centers are at the forefront of these evolutions. These facilities are designed to manage compute-intensive tasks. As workloads continue to evolve and diversify, data centers must adapt, supporting higher thermal design power, also known as TDP, and increased rack power densities. To stay ahead, they are optimizing compute, network, and power densities, whether through new constructions or retrofitted solutions. The next trend is maybe one of the hottest topics nowadays in data centers. It's about addressing rising power demands. When planning data center, it is essential to assess several critical factors, including the location, the availability of reliable power, specific requirements, and the potential of data center to operate as prosumers, both producers and consumers of energy. These mega power demands of data centers present significant challenges for electric utilities. At the same time, they are opening doors for vendors to offer customized solutions. By enabling local energy generation, we can enhance energy security, reduce dependence on utilities, and even lower costs. Some solutions include microgrids powered by distributed energy resources. It is worth mentioning that engines and turbines remain the most widely adopted scalable and modular long-term backup solutions for data centers. And nowadays, with natural gas leading the way, dual fuel systems such as combination of natural gas and hydrogen or hydrogen-ready systems are now a reality. Battery energy storage systems also provide efficient energy management and facilitate the integration of renewable energy into the power mix. Meanwhile, other innovative options like fuel cells and a small modular reactor using nuclear energy show significant progress for adoption in the near future. In summary, the main message here is that data centers have the potential to evolve from traditional energy consumers to active prosumers, both consumers and producers of energy. This is also a really interesting trend. Nowadays, liquid cooling is solidifying its role. The convergence of AI and data center cooling creates a compelling dilemma. As computational power continues to increase, the need for advanced thermal management system becomes crucial, challenging existing air cooling methods. Currently, AI-dedicated data centers handle power densities of around 120 kilowatts per rack, but projections suggest they could reach 300, 600 kilowatts, or even 1 megawatt per rack. Recently, this week, Google announced they were deploying 1 megawatt per rack with liquid cooling. Liquid cooling has evolved from being optional to becoming an essential component of modern data centers. Broadly speaking, there are two main types of liquid cooling without going into much detail: direct-to-chip and immersion. And each approach uses either single-phase or two-phase fluids for heat transfer. The development of industry standards will spark innovation. And here, similarly, collaboration plays a key role in tailoring liquid cooling strategies. In my opinion, the three key emerging innovations include hybrid cooling that merge immersion and precision, direct-to-chip cooling, microfluidic channels embedded directly into chip designs, bringing cooling fluids closer to the processors, and nanofluids infused with silicon-based nanoparticles to boost heat transfer efficiency. Additionally, regulation and incentives will influence the adoption of these technologies. An example is the ARPA-E Cooler Chip Initiative, which I had the honor to contribute with, which aims to reduce cooling energy use to less than 5% of a typical data center's ideal energy consumption. The fourth trend is about automation, but an AI applied to data center operation. AI is no longer just a tool for data analysis or optimization. It's becoming the driving force behind automation, particularly in areas like data center operations. AI-enabled operations offer the capability for autonomous operations, remote management, and the ability to predict behaviors while taking proactive actions. This powerful synergy is reshaping how we manage complex data centers. However, I do believe this technological revolution is not just about achieving efficiency. It's about enabling us to refocus our energy and resources on what truly matters. Strategic activities that reflect our vision, foster innovation, and pave the way for long-term success. As we embrace this wave of technological advancement, we must ask not only how this solution can serve us, but how we can deploy them wisely and ethically. And last but not least, one thing is clear. Advocating for energy efficient and sustainable data centers is not optional. It's essential. Efforts to ensure the effective and efficient use of resources alongside reducing greenhouse gas emissions continue to gain traction and are viewed nowadays as a competitive advantage. New technologies can be also a game changer. For example, AI is emerging as a key player in this transition towards a net zero future. AI has the potential to revolutionize how we manage energy consumption, optimize operation, and reduce waste. However, with great power comes great responsibility. We must also ensure its resource consumption is managed responsibly. This balance is crucial to understand true efficiency and sustainability. Moreover, sustainability reporting is set to become a best practice, and data centers are not exception to this rule. Last year, in March, the European Union took a significant step forward with new regulations to assess sustainability of data centers. This initiative is a call to action for data center stakeholders to prioritize efficiency and sustainability. So we just review key trends moving for the next generation of data center. Amid this wave of innovation, the data center industry is also adopting new business models to tackle evolving technological demands and challenges. Business models like anything as a service, infrastructure investment partnerships, deployment collaboration, and the well-known mergers and acquisition are reshaping the data center. Let's take a look. As a service business models. We have heard about them multiple times. They have revolutionized how we consume and manage services. These subscription or pay-per-use models eliminate the need for businesses to invest in and maintain data center infrastructure. For instance, AI as a service delivers powerful AI tools and frameworks, allowing organizations to harness analytics without needing deep expertise. Similarly, secure power as a service provides critical power infrastructure on an outcome-based model where businesses pay for outcomes, let's say UPSs, while vendors or providers handle the life cycle, ensuring efficiency and reliability. Cooling as a service follows a pay-per-use approach, offering energy efficient and sustainable cooling solution without the burden of owning equipment, or even liquid cooling as a service, liquid cooling fluid as a service, or monitoring as a service. There are a lot of options. Data center as a service allows businesses to outsource their physical data center needs, reducing CapEx while scaling resources as needed. And of course, the well-known infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and many more. So anything as a service continue to reshape our industry. Key collaborations such as the infrastructure partnership act as a catalyst to address the increasing demands and complex challenges of the industry. One example is the Global AI Infrastructure Investment Partnership, bringing together industry leaders like BlackRock, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and others. These partnerships focus on investing in next-generation AI-enabled data centers and pioneering energy solutions. The tech and asset management firms invest private equity capital, and other companies offer their technical expertise. The main goal of this type of business model is to mobilize significant capital investment, reaching hundreds of billions, and maybe in the next few years, trillions, who knows? Moreover, such partnerships extend beyond a single region, frequently involving international stakeholders. It's a global collaboration. The third business model is about deployment collaboration. Here, data centers focus on fostering partnerships and coordinate efforts to enhance both infrastructure and operational efficiency. By prioritizing collaboration, this type of model enables industry stakeholders to pool resources and expertise. An excellent example of this approach is the concept of co-innovation facilities, which serve as dedicated hubs for testing and developing groundbreaking data center technologies. Also, reference designs for AI play a key role in ensuring that data centers can meet future growth requirements and adapt to evolving workloads. And lastly, but not least, solution partnership and supply chain integration further streamline deployment by fostering close collaboration with vendors, software developers, and service providers to minimize the risk. Last, the mergers and acquisition business model. This one has become a significant trend in our industry. A key aspect of this model is the strategic consolidation for scale, where organizations acquire other companies to expand their reach and operational capabilities. For example, in recent years, the industry has witnessed record-breaking deals that highlight the scale and ambition of these transactions. Private equity firms have also taken a central role in driving M&A activity. Let's say in liquid cooling, we have seen multiple acquisitions over the last few years, which highlights a broader trend across the industry. Global expansion remains another crucial focus of M&A deal, as companies seek entry into new markets and regions. I would like to emphasize some key points. As the decisions we make today carry profound weight, they will define not only the trajectory of our organizations and industries, but the broader landscape of the future. to thrive in the data center industry, embracing innovation, fostering collaboration, and staying adaptable are essential to meeting increasing demands and driving growth. By leveraging the synergy between data and AI, I'm a great believer that we can unlock transformative solutions to tackle complex challenges. While AI holds great promise for improving efficiency, it also introduces energy consumption concerns that we must proactively address. We should anticipate significant disruptions in data centers and remain prepared to adapt quickly, recognizing that trends are always evolving. Let me close this presentation saying that we are living an exciting time for our industry as we reimagine the future of data centers with innovation at the core. How about redefining what's possible? I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And please do not hesitate to reach out to continue this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moises. That was an excellent presentation, very informative. We very much appreciate your speaking to us and putting all this work into preparing your presentation. So you did say not to hesitate to reach out if there's questions. So I hope that includes me. I hope I can ask a few questions if you don't mind. So anyway, do you want to say anything about the financing of data centers? You know, at some point, even the largest companies can't devote too much of their resources just to data centers. And you talk about OpenAI, $500 billion investment. Not sure where they're going to find $500 billion. Even the sovereign wealth funds are having a hard time contributing to that. So anything you want to say about the financing of data centers?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. Thank you for jumping in. Yeah, and that is why we are now reinventing ourselves in the data center industry with new business models. And I mentioned some key points in some slides. For example, the Global AI Infrastructure Investment Partnership or the Stargate projects. It's like a conglomerate of industry players because, as you mentioned, not just one of us will be able to fund these new initiatives. So we need to bring together industry leaders. And this partnership, how I see it, will focus on investing in next generation of data center. But yes, it's a mix, and nowadays we are trying to mobilize hundreds of billions of data centers, and the only way is try to bring together different industry players. For example, one example that I mentioned in the presentation was the AI Infrastructure Investment Partnership. And they bring together players like BlackRock, well-known, or Microsoft or NVIDIA. They are playing another scale of businesses. But yes, okay. I do agree. For example, in 2024, I remember the acquisition of AirTrunk by Blackstone. And I believe it was the Canada Pension Plan. It was a $16 billion deal. And nowadays, we are moving those numbers to hundreds of billions of dollars. Yes, it's another game. Totally true. And I do agree. We are moving faster than expected. And that is one of redefining what's possible. That is why I close with that picture. We are trying to transform our ship into a plane, and we are transforming it while we are riding it. But yes, excellent question.
Okay, so is the trend for large companies like Meta or Google to build their own data center so they have exclusivity on a particular data center, or is it to rent space, to rent rack space together with other industry participants in a given data center?
Great question too, David. Thank you for jumping into this topic. It's a mix of both. Nowadays, for example, when I mention about what's next, the first two articles were about Meta, a company like Meta, announcing rolling out fleet of edge data centers and also deploying mega campuses. But at the same time, they are being trying to acquire or being part of mega development. It's a mixed strategy. There are too many variables. First of all, I always say it's about location, location, and location. It will depend where it is and about the vision. It depends which region, about governance, about data sovereignty. There are so many factors, but it's a mix. Sometimes to keep up with this fast technology that's really disruptive, we are not able to wait to build data centers. We need to evolve and try to adapt where are existing data centers and where they can be a good fit. So they are making a lot of deals. They are rolling out edge data centers in one side. They are developing mega campuses. They are developing AI factories. And at the same time, they are being part of mega deployment. For example, I remember internal SME for a big megawatt liquid cooled data center project. And one of the buildings nowadays being deployed is just for one of those companies. Other buildings are with multiple vendors. So there is no one universal approach. I do believe it's more like a mix. And of course, it will depend on where, the location, and the company itself.
Mm-hmm. Is there a trade-off between locating a data center in an inexpensive area and latency? Um,
Yeah, that question is nowadays always arising. I mentioned through the presentation, maybe too fast. It will depend. Data centers are built for a purpose, and it's about processing workloads. So it will depend which type of workloads are processing. For example, let's focus on AI. In AI, we can differentiate three main trends. Let's say training, AI training, and inferencing, which can be divided also in online inferencing and batch inferencing. For example, training, latency is not so critical. And then we have also heard, and I have interacted with clients, that they are not so picky with redundant power. So if power fails, it's okay. We're doing training. We can handle that if that lower cost. So for AI training, we can look at other locations where we will have not the best latency time and not the best response or the skill workforce and so other variables. But if we are looking to inference, the game changed. But nowadays we are seeing also two types of inference. Online inference, which will require the most stringent latency time, and batch inferencing. So we will be doing inferencing, but it's not so critical. So we can manage. And that is why we are seeing nowadays new data center markets that we have not seen before are arising because they are cheaper, the land is cheaper, they have plenty of power, and nobody has gone there before. And now a lot of hyperscaler using AI are looking into this location. But yes, so I will divide it to summarize AI training, AI batch inferencing, and AI online inferencing be the most expensive location, the last one.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for delineating the different types of processing of AI. So this may sound like a stupid question, but is there any talk about putting data sites on places like the International Space Station, or there is some type of some other industries are actually doing things out there, but
Totally. Recently, just I do believe a month ago, NASA launched like a mini data center to the space. It lasted just hours, but it was the first example that we can explore other options. And there are multiple people exploring, like the first data center in the space. It didn't last too much, but because after it was exposed and so, but it lasted hours. So it worked out. And also, how about undersea, the famous Microsoft Natick project, and in other areas? Nowadays, we're exploring a lot of options for data centers. It's about latency. New generations are not, they are not expecting to wait for the response. So we need to keep exploring. And I'm a great believer that we are like toddlers. We are still learning how to walk with AI, and it has not exploded yet. So we need to prepare for these explosions of AI. And this is why I try to point out the key trends. And the first one is about skyrocketing compute intensive workloads. For example, NASA is nowadays able to simulate multiple scenarios because nowadays on a weekly basis or more frequently, they are launching to space. We have launches. So it's very common, but all this advancement and also in medicine are enabled by this technology.
Mm-hmm. So you talk about exploding AI. I assume you mean that in a positive way, like it'll continue to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, in a positive way, totally.
But there is a risk it could explode in a negative way. You look at the economics, and it costs OpenAI money every time somebody does a search, and there's a lot of free searches, and most of these companies are not making any money. Most of the consumers of AI are just doing tests of the systems, and they're not going to buy all of the software they test. There's a lot of companies that I think will probably fail. And do you think there's a risk that data centers could be overbuilding if, but by definition, 90% of the AI companies cannot be in the top 10%. Right? So is there a risk that we're seeing a bubble in AI that could burst and be very damaging for data centers?
It's a very good point. I do not believe we are living a bubble. I do believe we are through an inflection point, and these new technologies can be a game changer. But as with any disruptive technologies, we will have a lot of adjustment up and down, and people saying that it is not working, but we will be adjusting ourselves. That is why I mentioned that we are like toddlers. We are still learning how to walk. We are adjusting, but the AI applications will skyrocket in the next few years. Nowadays, we are seeing those in application like space and also at schools. For example, my little one is using a school AI for do research in at a very young age. So we are seeing this, and now we are being exposed, but the real benefits of AI are yet to come.
Okay. As far as like building the data centers, is construction is that a constraint? Are there enough laborers in all these different markets to do the work of building up data centers? And do some of the construction crews, are they all local people or do they typically travel, from one project to another?
It's a very good point. Nowadays, we are feeling the pain of this fast growing industry, and we need a lot of skilled workforce. And nowadays, we also are reinventing ourselves. And I believe I mentioned it in one of the slides. We're looking to more modular, flexible, and rapidly deployable data center designs because there is no other way to keep up with the trend. But yes, workforce, it's a big challenge, and we are also embracing people from other industries because at the end of the day, it's about building. So there's a lot of know-how how we can optimize this. But
Do,
what you
do,
mentioned is totally right. And my main concern here is that we need a well-orchestrated strategy to maximize business value for these new data centers or AI factories.
do data centers, do they typically scale by moving out horizontally, taking up more real estate at any site, or can they also build up vertically?
Good question. It will depend also on the location and limitation. It's about pricing. As you can imagine, building floors can be more expensive than growing horizontally, that we mainly see them in the US growing horizontally. But if we go to other countries, I don't know, let's say an example like Singapore, they are growing vertically because the land is too expensive. So it's about also location. Oh, how about the Netherlands? How about Singapore? It's a different perspective than other here, maybe on the west coast of the US, where we have more lands and maybe growing horizontally. But yeah, it's a mix, and it depends. Each solution brings their own challenges. And
Mhm.
sometimes we are seeing that data centers are being built in areas where they have a lot of incentives. We are living that, oh, a lot of tax incentives, or we are building a lot of things, but also data center nowadays are transforming itself and they are also giving back to the communities because of water scarcity, how will affect this big deployment. So they are taking into consideration a lot of aspects to minimize the environmental aspect. But it's a mix. It's about a risk assessment matrix, and there are multiple options. Depending on the location, they can grow horizontally, vertically, or in a mix. Nowadays, also, the main challenge is that densities, power densities, have changed a lot. Usually, we used to talk about data centers. Oh, 1 megawatts, 2 megawatts. Nowadays, we can think just 1 megawatt in one container or maybe even in one rack. So it's shrinking, but as I do believe, Jevons paradox will prove itself in the next few years. There will be more applications and then it will expand again. So we need to be prepared for that
Mhm.
expansion in terms of about labor, energy, resources, how we manage, and environmental impact, and all the parameters.
Right. I'd imagine the floors get pretty heavy if you start to build up with all the servers, the density of the servers, right? Is that an issue?
Yeah, totally, totally. Nowadays, a lot of companies, the other day I was at a workshop, we were exchanging ideas. Racks in the previous years were about, I don't know, 1,000 pounds, and the load floor was designed for that. Nowadays, we are talking about 5,000 pounds per rack. So there are a lot of initiatives, how manipulating this rack, reducing the boxes that are used to transport these racks, how we transport them, into their data center, which space is needed to serve them. Everything is changing. That is why my last slide, I mentioned, what about redefining what's possible? I'm contributing to different data centers, standards, committees, and we're seeing this fast evolution. Standards will help us, but sometimes these technologies are evolving faster. So we need in data centers to adapt fast to these evolving changes that we are seeing, evolving technologies, workloads, everything. Maybe
Right.
what we are seeing today, it will change in the next 3 to 5 years. Infrastructure cycles nowadays are not compatible anymore with compute cycles. These IT equipment cycles are evolving faster and faster.
Okay. I'll just mention one thing I found interesting. You can comment if you want to. Not necessarily in data centers, but I heard a presentation from a semiconductor company, and they were talking about building, more factories in the United States. They said, well, we still have to import some of our equipment, like ASML, the Dutch lithography company. They have a very expensive lithography, UV lithography. Each device, each machine costs $500 million, and a semiconductor factory, has to be very reliable, so they probably would want to. So it's $1 billion, and the tariffs on that are 20%. So it costs another $200 million just to bring in some equipment to a semiconductor factory. Are there any corollaries in data centers? Are there any pieces of equipment that are typically coming from outside of the US that could be impacted by tariffs?
I guess yes, but data centers will adapt to these geopolitical constraints, and people are evolving. We cannot predict the future, like, for example, when COVID hit us, on some wars in different countries, they impacted the supply chain for lithium-based batteries, some critical minerals. So I do believe data center industry will need to adapt to the evolving geopolitical situations.
Okay. Okay, and just a couple more questions, and I won't bother you anymore.
Yes, please.
So I understand audiophiles, people that really love music. Um, the quality of the music that they hear is a function of the quality of the electricity that drives their stereo, that drives their speaker. And some of these people try to get direct connections to where the electricity is generated. So one of your slides had many different sources of power, gas and oil and nuclear and natural gas and all of this. Are there variations? Does a data center perceive that there's quality differences with the electricity based on the source from which it is generated?
Yeah, very good point. That is why in data centers we act in a different way. We provide a specific equipment to, to ensure reliable power quality, namely surge protectors, UPSs, and so on, because we need a very reliable power quality, which is not we are used to. So double conversion UPSs nowadays, also a lot of companies are exploring fitting the racks with DC, but always maintaining power quality because otherwise everything will be affected. Data center industry breathes and lives by a word, reliability. Reliability, we can explain it very simple for the audience, like 1 minus probability of failure or 1 minus likelihood of failure. So we need to reduce in data center the likelihood of any failure. That is why we are looking into very reliable components, and power quality is one of those aspects that we need to guarantee in data centers to
Mhm.
reduce failures totally.
Okay, and just to make sure I understood, one of the comments you made, you were, I think you were saying that the cost per AI search has fallen dramatically. Is it? And you gave
It's,
some
it's,
numbers.
It's like, yes, if you look at it, you look at the graph. Let me go back to this graph. It was in slide number 9. Yeah, here we can see, if we go deeper to this graph, the cost of querying an AI model with performance equivalent to GPT 3.5, what means in a specific accuracy, dropped from $20 million, from $20 per million tokens in November 2022 to just 7 cents per million tokens by October 2024. You are comparing it with Gemini 1.5 Flash 8B. That means a reduction of over 280-fold in approximately 18 months. Of
Uh,
course, depending on the task, LLM, large language models, inference prices have fallen anywhere between 9 and 900 times per year. It depends, because other people will say, these are some references that I have given. This is according to the AI Index 2025 report released recently by Stanford University. And the source is in the slide. If any of the audience would like to take a closer look. But the main message is that we are reducing costs, but of course, nowadays we have new models that are cheaper, but also more expensive, and then the next curve. The same, we can do an analogy like laptops or cell phones. They drop on the price, they have more capabilities, but then there is the new generation and so on.
so I heard, maybe this is wrong. I heard that it cost OpenAI 40 cents every time a search is done on ChatGPT. Does that sound accurate, or is that grossly inaccurate?
Yeah, that could be because ChatGPT is about, let's say, 1 to 10 watt hours, depending on the cost of energy, if it's 4 cents, or it could be. It
Wow,
could be
that's
less. Yeah, it could be, and it could be much lower. For example, Google, in the last sustainability report, they showcased that they slashed, I do believe, efficiency by 100 times and reduce greenhouse gas emission by 1,000 times. So nowadays we are estimating, but that could be because it's about, I would say, let's say 4 or 5 watt hours, depending how much is the electricity. But that could be, if it's about 4 cents, 6 cents, 8 cents, could be, or 10 cents, depending where. And the electricity cost is also based on location. Measuring AI, AI energy consumption, I have found it personally pretty challenging because it depends on the model size. And in the slide that I'm showing, for example, ChatGPT-2 was with X number of parameters. ChatGPT-3, 175 billion parameters. ChatGPT-4, 500 billion. Nowadays we have other generation. Now we have Gemini 1.5 Flash 8B that I was mentioning. So they are much cheaper. So it depends which model, which infrastructure, and which optimization algorithms. And also it is worth mentioning that if you test one of these AI tools for a specific task, can be faster, but for others can be slower. So we need to standardize. I do believe that is why I added in this slide inference price across select benchmarks.
Okay.
But you need to standardize, and you can take a closer look. But the main goal here is that they have decreased enormously
Okay.
from $20 per million tokens to 7 cents per million tokens.
Okay.
So
Great.
$20 to 7 cents is like a big deal. I do believe so.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the last thing I'll bring up. Maybe I didn't understand this correctly, but I heard somebody say that something like with the AIX uh, chips, Elon Musk's AI initiative, that the AI is going to be etched directly onto hardware, and that will make it much faster than anything else. Maybe I'm not saying it
Yeah,
right or not understanding.
yeah, totally. There are a lot of nowadays new ways in a software bay, a lot of are more hardwired into the hardware to reduce processing times, algorithms, optimization algorithms embedded into the chip. There are different there's a lot of research going on, and I do believe it can be. It can be, I will not say no, but yes, there are different approaches how we develop all this.
Great. Well, I think I'll stop asking questions here. Thank you, Moises, for speaking to us. Your presentation was excellent. You were very kind and gave us a lot of time to ask questions and answer them all very nicely. So we really appreciate your educating us on data centers. So Moises Levy, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I hope the audience have enjoyed. And here you have a link to my LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message and happy to stay in touch with you. Great conference.